Go ahead.
Welcome to the Pony Pundits for Friday, July 24th. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined today in studio with my partner in crime, Sig Las Vegas. You can follow him on Twitter there. Sig, how you doing today? How's things back in the Berg?
I'm doing great, Marco. I'm not in the Berg today. I am at Del Mar, as you can tell. Got the starting gate in the background. Those horses just broke. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah, I hope you don't get run over there, buddy. Right out there in the middle of the start of that race. Looking at today's action, we'll get all stuff. Exciting times right now for everybody. We got baseball back last night, first games of the 2020 season. We waited all the time, and what we ended up having a very short game that eliminated some bets if you took over-unders or some run lines because it didn't go the distance. And then, of course, the second game, we had a late pitching change. Clayton Kershaw was scrapped, and they went to May. We've changed things around. Some books this year, Sig, they're not specifying pitchers. They're just making everything action. So just a tip. I know this is a horse show, but just a tip to you guys. Betting baseball this year, make sure you know what your books are doing when you're betting. If you're allowed to specify, and then you're going to have some scratches when things happen like last night with Kershaw. Or if you're playing action, well, that's what you get, action, no matter who's on the mound. Talking about horses, Del Mar's back, and that's where we're going to be talking about today. They had cancellation last weekend due to several jockeys coming down with the coronavirus. So, Sig, I know you've been locked into Saratoga. Another nice day yesterday, hitting those pick fours and pick fives. You're just crushing them. Now you're switching out to the West Coast here to join me with some good races. The big story, and we'll get to that in depth when we break down the race of the day, is the return of Maximum Security.
Marco, I am looking forward to that, and I can handle East Coast, West Coast. Actually, I like the laid-back West Coast 5 a little bit more. Would love to be at Del Mar right now, but unfortunately, current situation does not allow that. Looking forward to getting back there sometime soon, though.
All right. Well, I know a couple months you'll be here in Vegas for the Derby. There'll be more spectators at the sports book than there will be at the track. But hey, what are we going to do? Let's get things started. I want to remind everybody, don't forget, and we're adding shows left and right, guys, as we get sports back. But remember, every day, twice a day, Monday through Friday, you can pick up a live show here at Wager Talk TV, Monday through Friday, live, 12 noon Eastern and 3 p.m. Eastern. You can check out a show every day, Monday through Friday. And, of course, Fridays, it's the Pony Pundits with Sig and myself. So be sure to check that out every day. And, of course, check out that Friday show of the Pundits. Sig, what do you got for us, news and notes this week?
Not a whole lot, Marco, but there are a few things to mention. One thing that came to mind this week is they announced the first rankings for the Breeders' Cup Classic, and that brought to mind my horse Tacitus, who I've been off and on for a year and a half now. Last time we saw Tacitus, he was winning the Suburban at Belmont back on July 4th. He's being pointed, they said this week, trainer Belmont said he's going to the Woodwork at Saratoga back on September 5th. There were some rumblings he may be pointed at the Whitney next week, but judging by the way he's setting this up, July 4th he ran in the Suburban. Labor Day weekend he's going to run in the Woodward. That's going to set him up for another 2-month break, leading right up to the Breeders' Cup Classic. Speaking of which, like I said, those Breeders' Cup Classic rankings came out this week. This is a horse you don't want to sleep on come November, I don't think, and he's ranked pretty low here in these rankings.
Well, he is the most unluckiest horse in horse racing. Always finds a way to get into trouble. Now, he finally broke that jinx last time. No trouble, easy win. And yes, he's going to be moving forward. Definitely, I agree with you. It looks like the scheduling is setting up, pointing for the race after this, because if you're looking at the Whitney and you're looking at the Woodward. Obviously, the Whitney is the more prestigious race there at Saratoga. So they're looking at not the now. I think they're looking at down the road and what's best, and that's where their target is set for them to try to get there for the Breeders' Cup. And Sig, what else you got for us?
Well, so speaking of those Breeders' Cup rankings, let's go through those real quick here. Top 10 came out for the first time this week. On top, I can't blame them. They have Tom's Deata, who's had a pretty nice 2020 so far. Not too many people have had a good 2020. Tom's Deata is the horse that has. Number 2 is Maximum Security, who we're going to get into depth talking about here as we come up on the race of the day coming up here, the San Diego handicap. Number 3, interestingly, is Tiz the Law, who is your Kentucky Derby favorite right now. He's still got a couple more races to run here before the Derby, we would think, but they might put him straight to the Derby. 4 is Code of Honor, who's having a very good 4-year-old season. Number 5, the mare, Midnight Bisou, who I think might be a little bit higher here. She gave Maximum Security all he could handle back in the Saudi Cup back in February. She's having a hell of a 5-year-old season. 6 is Honor AP, the Santa Anita Derby winner. Is going to be looking strong here. I'm interested to see if they do race her anywhere here before the Kentucky Derby. Otherwise, she's going to have a nice, he is going to have a nice layoff. Going into that, the 7 horse is By My Standards, who's had a decent 2020, and he's a little high on some people's rankings for me, my personal taste, but it's a good horse. Number 8, we got the Tacitus, who I just mentioned. A little low here in my opinion. Number 9, Vacoma, who's having a hell of a 4-year-old season. And the 10th is Improbable, one of Marco's favorite horses.
Yeah, Improbable. And let's talk about those last 2 horses, Sig. Vacoma and Improbable, both are coming off big races. Be looking forward to see where they show up next prior to the Breeders' Cup at the end of the season. Vacoma, impressive in its win last time out. And of course, Improbable, I used to joke about, always found a way to get into trouble as well. He was impressive in his last race. And I'll go back to one of the horses you started at the beginning, Code of Honor. Even though, and I think his last race, Code of Honor finished 3rd, if I remember correctly, but he raced big in that race. That was a race where the speed bias was, the speed on the front end. This horse tried to come from behind and was closing against a bias, and was the only horse that was closing in that race. Went a big race, and I think that'll be a stepping stone for Code of Honor for the rest of the season. So looking forward to some of these races that we're going to have, obviously, the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness. And I will say this much. If we get another race from Tiz the Law before the Derby, and Tiz the Law wins the Derby and then comes back and wins the Preakness, obviously we would have a Triple Crown winner. Do you think they come right back? And I know it's the Breeders' Cup, and everybody, that's next to the Triple Crown, that's the big race. But will that be too much for this horse to finish out the season with 3 big races like that?
It would definitely be a challenge, I think. I mean, in general, winning the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness are a possibility for him, as he's only battling 3-year-olds. Stepping up to the Breeders' Cup Classic, you're dealing with older horses there, more experienced horses, and more than likely more fit horses at that point. They've been targeted and pointed towards the Breeders' Cup Classic. If Tiz the Law wins the Kentucky Derby, goes on to take the Preakness, that's going to be 2 races there in a 4-week span, and then another 4 weeks will be right out to the Breeders' Cup Classic at Keeneland. It's going to be a lot to ask of him, but if they have him in shape to win the Derby and he comes right back and wins the Preakness, he may just be a wonder horse. Yeah,
I can't argue that. I just, it's just going to be tough, especially throw the final element in there. And that final element is you got a 3-year-old racing against older horses if you go in the Classic. And, yes, at the end of the season, a 3-year-old is basically, ready to be a 4-year-old, but it's going to be different this year because the horses had to stay fit and in training basically all season long. Because if you remember, Tiz the Law was on schedule for the normal Kentucky Derby, Triple Crown process. Nobody knew back in, January, February, at the beginning of March, what was going to happen with the shutdowns. And, they raced this horse, I believe, on the Florida circuit, where so many horses go through, the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby for their road to the Kentucky Derby. And now to have to stay sharp, run that Belmont race as they did in June, and then go and have to stay sharp to September, and then follow that up with the Preakness, and then come back in November. I don't know. That's asking an awful lot of a horse, and I would be a little bit hesitant myself, especially if I got the Triple Crown. What else do you get? Would you have to prove? You got to look out, I think, for the best interest in the horse. But I think if you're looking for some value, Code of Honor, Tacitus, Vacoma, and Improbable are all horses on the improve. No question about that. And then we're going to find out a big question about maximum security when we get to that race of the day. And, well, you know what? I guess that's a great segue to get to that race of the day. It is the San Diego Handicap, Sig. And wait, I'm making sure. Did I cut you off? Did you have anything else on the?
And a couple more news items.
Oh, sorry.
To get to it,
I'm getting all excited about talking about maximum security. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, guys. We have another cross-country pick 5 this weekend. This time, it's going to cover 3 different tracks. We're covering races at Woodbine, Monmouth, and Saratoga. And what's unique about this one is all 5 races in this pick 5 should be done within 1 hour. The first post is at Woodbine, race number 9 for 5:26 on Saturday, Eastern Time. The last race of it concludes at Saratoga, race number 10 at 6:16 p.m. So technically in 50 minutes, you could find yourself with a nice little score there.
Or you could get yourself buried in a 5-race. I tell you what, it is nonstop. And I was doing that last weekend when I did my package last week. We did something different where I just took select races from the various tracks across the country. We even threw in, first time I sold a play from a harness track. The Meadowlands Pace was raced at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. That's one of the biggest races in harness racing. We nailed that race. We nailed a couple of the other. It was a good program. So excited to see that cross country pick 5. And you know what? In that spirit, this would be a good time to do a little promotion. I know you always are going to have the full card coverage from Saratoga. Today, I've done something different with my package. I got my own pick 5 package today. And I told you when we opened the show, baseball was started. I'm making 5 wagers today. That's it. I'm making 5 wagers, but I'm making 5 good wagers. And we've got 1 baseball wager and 4 horses. And I texted you yesterday right away about one of them, so you didn't forget, is I found a horse today at Del Mar where the trainer has been in a move that when he has made this move, the last 8 times that he's done this, Sig, he's won 6 of the 8 races. And then he got a 3rd with one of the other ones. That's 6 out of 8, 75%. And that's my best bet of the day. And that's all included in 1 package today. So you can get 5 big plays, 1 baseball, 4 horse racing plays. Put them together, guys. Good package. Check it out at Wager Talk. And, of course, check out Sig daily for his coverage from Saratoga. All right, what else do you got from us? There's a big race at Saratoga this weekend. There
is. The Vanderbilt's shaping up to be one hell of a race. It's probably the top race of the weekend at Saratoga. It's a 6-furlong dirt sprint. And it's going to be a showdown, basically, in my opinion, right now, between 3 horses. Volatile, who's out of the Steve Asmussen barn, has 4 wins and only 5 career starts.
A lot of buzz with that horse. They've been talking about that horse all week.
There is, but he's taking on some older horses here who have been pretty successful sprinting themselves. Frenzy Fire, who's now 5, is trained by Kelly Breen, and he's just flourished since moving to becoming a sprinter over the past 2 years. And they have to face off with the ageless Whitmore, who's now 7 and just keeps winning these sprint races, including his 2 most recent ones at Oaklawn and Stakes this past spring.
Definitely, but Whitmore, if I remember correctly, isn't he the guy that just absolutely loves Oaklawn Park? Doesn't he have like an insane record at Oaklawn?
He does have an insane record at Oaklawn, but he pretty much wins wherever they tell him to go sprint.
There you go. I thought whenever you started to introduce him and you said the ageless, and then you started with the W, I thought you were going to say ageless wonder with Whitmore, because you don't see that many horses on the thoroughbred level racing at the level that he is when they get to be 7 or 8 years old. Most of the horses, and that's something that we've talked about many times, that's wrong with the industry. I understand it. It's the economics. Once a horse proves his value as a 3-year-old, everybody wants to rush him off to stud because you're going to make more money, and why risk, bringing the horse's value down? But it doesn't let you grow the sport and create superstars where people want to follow. I can remember watching Cigar. When I think about superstars, in my era, the winning streak that Cigar had, and to be racing, at an older level and to go all around the country the way he did, that's what you need to create fans and a following. But the economics just don't allow for it.
Oh, the other thing about Whitmore too, Marco, is he can't go out the stud. He's been taken care of.
The ultimate equipment change, as we like to refer to it.
Poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy. It's hey, it happens. Let's news and notes done.
That is it for news and notes this week.
I can go to the race of the day now.
Let's get on the race of the day.
I'm excited because all right, we can't. There's the purple elephant in the room. We have to address it. All right, for those of you. I didn't say the size of an elephant. I just said there was a purple elephant in the room. Unless you've been living under a rock this year, there was a huge indictment by the FBI. This was the biggest sting operation that I can remember in horse racing in my lifetime, okay? And there were several arrests made, both on the thoroughbred level and harness racing, where I own horses. And the two signature names that came out of this from the thoroughbred level was Jorge Navarro and Jason Service. Okay. Now, Navarro, this is a guy that just exploded onto the scene and just was winning races left and right. And they got caught. No question about it. They're in big trouble. Now, maximum security was under Jason Service. And if you remember this horse, he won the Kentucky Derby, but then was disqualified. And this was a horse, when we talked about his road to the Kentucky Derby, he won the Florida Derby. I happened to be there with my good buddy Ralph Michaels. And basically, I thought he stole the Florida Derby with the slow fractions that were run in that race. And he was on the front end, uncontested, blah, blah, blah. Later on, we did find out he stole the race with maybe a little bit of extra octane. But this is a horse that in his first start was in a $16,000 claimer. And then a few months later, in his 3-year-old season, he's competing for the Triple Crown and racing in the Kentucky Derby. So this horse definitely had a rise to stardom. Now, there's been a lot of things, and there's been some good articles. And if you follow anybody on Twitter or horse racing people, maybe I'll send it out later today. I'll retweet it. But a guy did an article about the horses that Service and Navarro had and how they've done since racing for their new barns. And, yes, there's been a drop-off. You're expected to see a drop-off. So a lot of people are talking, what will we see out of maximum security on Saturday? He's going to the Bob Baffert barn. And not to, Bob Baffert's no dummy. He's one of the best trainers in the sport. And he also just received a positive we talked about last week. He's filed an appeal, and the story of how the positive occurred. And, I just kind of chuckled a little bit with that. And we'll see. But this horse has been training like an absolute beast, Sig. And to be honest with you, I don't see how he loses this race. Tell me how he gets beat.
I can't tell you. I
Excuse
can't.
me.
I'm looking for a reason to poke holes in them. And honestly, Marco, coming into this, I was basically a little concerned because coming out of the service barn, and we know he was on some type of regimen. This horse just wins races. 10 career starts. He technically has 8 wins, but if you really look at it, he has 9 wins. He won that Kentucky Derby. I mean, yes, there was a disqualification. Yes, he was placed way back, but this horse finished first 9 times and second once in those 10 career races. If you toss out that DQ, it's a good horse. He's a good horse, and I had my reservations with the barn change and the regimen that he may or may not have been on for the service barn. He is working, like you said, lights out since he went to the Baffert barn, and he's the best. I mean, as far as I can tell, he's the best dirt horse in training right now. 4 years old, just keeps winning races. I mean, this is going to be a test, but I think this is more of a prep race for him coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, well, here's 2 things that I'm gonna say about him in this race, and let's go to Bob Baffert for a second. And we joked about the positive and everything, and I'm gonna go back to Gamine. All right, that was the other horse that on Arkansas Derby Day that Baffert got the positive with. Okay, and so the other Charlatan couldn't run back because he's injured, but Gamine did. Okay, so there was a lot of speculation that day. Hey, did Gamine have a problem that was on lidocaine? It was funny that right after the Arkansas Derby, positive test on Charlatan, then we find out he's on the shelf and done with an injury. And so a lot of speculation ran rampant to how Gamine was going to race back. Well, and I was one of them. I said, until I see it, I don't want to be 100% believer till I see it. Well, she answered all questions in her return from the positive. So I'm not worried about that as far as this horse is not going to have something that Jason Service was giving it. But here's what I am going to tell you, and what makes Maximum Security so good is I reference back to the Florida Derby where I said he stole it because he got to the half so cheaply. That's going to happen again here. All right. Nobody's going to run with Maximum Security. It's a 6-horse field. He's going to break from the gate and go to the front. And nobody's going to want to battle him early. And I'm not going to blow my own horn, but yes, I am. When we talked about last week's race and, the heavy favorite, in the Haskell, and I told you that New York Traffic is not going to try to set the pace, even though he likes to be on the front. He's going to be right off his flank and just let him dictate what he wants to do in that race. Authentic. And that's the way they went around the track. And it looked like Authentic was home free, scooted away from New York Traffic in the stretch, but then late New York Traffic came back. And I told you, the only possible way New York Traffic has a shot in that race is if he takes the uncontested second around the track. And they went modest fractions, and then he had something left. And that's what people are going to want here. They're not going to want to battle Maximum Security, and he's going to be able to get cheap fractions, and he'll be able to bottom out this field whenever he does change gears. I just don't see anybody staying with him. And handicapping this race, it's Maximum Security and then everybody else. So let's go through it and try to see if we can find that stone cold exacta to make some money. And even though it was short prices Saturday in the Haskell, if you nail the race, I bet $50 in exactas in that race for the clients. I went a cold punch, $30 with New York Traffic, and then $20 with my second place horse, and we hit the exact and still made some money, even with the odds-on favorite winning the race. Now, looking at this one, starting from the rail out, we have Higher Power. And Higher Power raced a big second last time out. Obviously, it was to Improbable, and you know how high I was on Improbable that day. And Higher Power was the second best horse, and come off just a dismal performance in the Pegasus World Cup, the race before that. But as I pointed out that day when we talked about higher power, is he didn't run on Lasix that day. If you remember, there was no Lasix for any of the horses in the Pegasus World Cup. And I think that was a big factor with higher power, and especially back on Lasix. Last start, we saw a big effort, and that was the horse's first start in 6 months. You've got to figure higher power is going to be better on Saturday. And we know he likes this racetrack. Not to drop another race that I was at, but we were at the Florida Derby for Maximum Security's big Florida Derby win. Ralph and myself was at Del Mar for the Pacific Classic last year when higher power pulled the upset and raced big that day. So we know he likes the Del Mar racetrack.
That is for sure, Marco. I'm going to start calling you the horse dropper. There's people that are name droppers. You like to name drop horses. You're going to be the horse dropper. Higher power
Just don't give
hasn't
me any
won.
horse droppings.
Higher power has not won since that Pacific Classic win last year. But if you guys go back and watch that race, that was one hell of a race by higher power. I think he likes his Del Mar track, and he's been running in tougher company since that Pacific Classic win, including 4 straight Grade 1s. The Awesome again at Santa Anita, the Breeders' Cup Classic at Santa Anita, the Pegasus World Cup that Marco mentioned at Gulfstream, off of Lasix, and he had been off a 2+ month layoff going into that as well. And then like that runner-up finish we just talked about with 2 Improbable in the Santa Anita Gold Cup last month. Other than that Pegasus performance, he's hit the board in all those starts against some good horses. He's racing good company. If he runs back to that Pacific Classic form, and he likes his Del Mar track, which he has shown he has, he's going to give Max at least somewhat of a battle, I think, in here.
Yeah, and definitely this is a horse that sits just a little bit off the pace, doesn't want to get too far behind. And in a 6-horse field where they're going to be going modest fractions, in my opinion, I think the field's going to be fairly, bunched up, but it'll be a slow pace on the front end. The next horse, the 2-horse Sig Axeman, this is a horse that, he's had 4 starts this year, 2 wins and a third. I go back to last year, and, I never like to see that. The horse is a 5-year-old, comes off his 3-year-old season, goes into last year, and only gets 2 starts last year. Definitely something went awry. Resurfaces this year for the 5-year-old campaign. And as I said, been racing okay, but really has not faced this kind of caliber of horses recently. And I think he's lost a step or two.
I'm not going to disagree with you at all on that, Marco, but this horse is going to take some action here. People are going to see Bob Baffert. People are going to see Mike Smith in the irons. They are going to bet this horse in California. If you see Baffert and Smith teaming up anywhere, you bet them. If you bet a team in California, you bet them with both hands. And I'm not saying that you need to do that on Saturday, but people will because of the connections there. Axeman did win his last out in an offshore claimer at Santa Anita, but he hasn't been running against the grade of horses he's going to see here tomorrow. And I think he's outclassed here, and I think he's going to be showing his age. I think he's still a good horse. I just think he's in here above his head.
Yeah, and I will point this out. You mentioned Bob Baffert and Mike Smith. Nothing against Drayden Van Dyke, but Drayden Van Dyke's not Mike Smith, okay? Mike Smith and Drayden Van Dyke have been the primary jocks on this horse. Drayden Van Dyke more so. But I look at this, and the 4 times Mike Smith has done this, has rode this horse, 3 wins for Mike Smith in 4 starts and a third. So definitely Mike Smith gets the most out of this horse, but he's going to have to get his best effort to go with these guys. And I just, as I said, I think he's just a notch below these guys. The next horse up is number 3, Sharp Samurai. This is a horse, I will say this much. The horse has been improving his figures each of his last 4 races. Has a second and a third in the last 2. Has danced all of the dances. If you look down the card, this horse has 2, 4, 6, 8 straight graded stakes races and has 11 out of 12 of its last races have been graded stakes. This is definitely a horse that doesn't dodge anybody. Had been off for a year last time. Come back, raced on June 21st. That was the first start in over a year, and third place finish in putting up a nice speed figure for the first time out of the box in a year. You got to expect improvement from number 3, Sharp Samurai.
You do, Marco, but the big thing that you did skip over there is that 16 of this horse's 19 starts and all those last ones that we talked about, you just talked about, were all over the turf. He's making the move to the dirt here tomorrow, which he has raced on, and he has won on the dirt one time. And basically, if you look at his recent works as well, he's taken to both the Del Mar dirt and the Del Mar turf pretty well here. I think against lesser company, he's competitive on the dirt, but he's facing some quality horses in here in Maximum Security and Higher Power. I don't think that he's going to show up here, but I mean, I see them racing for the purse here, and I think this is a horse that can get the distance. I wouldn't I'd use him probably on the bottom of your trifecta, maybe your superfecta tickets if you're playing him. He can get there. That's not going to be the problem. But racing against quality dirt horses when you're mainly a turf horse, I don't see it happening in this race tomorrow.
Yeah, that is a big, asking to go from the turf to the dirt. But I'll just, name drop again. My Kentucky Derby winners a few years back that really put us on the map as far as the Derby goes. Animal Kingdom made that switch from turf to dirt, and well, we know what happened there. Let's go to number 4, Combatant. This is probably the horse I've had the most trouble trying to figure out in this race. Talk about my buddy Drayden Van Dyke. Here he shows up on this one after not getting the mount with the other horse, Axeman. What do you see here with Combatant? The horse has been consistent, but I don't know that he can go with this caliber of horses.
Right. Well, you pointed out, first thing that you said here is that Van Dyke's riding and not Rosario. Joel's committed to the Saratoga meet and won't be making the trip across to ride him. He gets the best out of the horse. I don't think Van Dyke's going to get the same type of performance from him. And while that win was impressive, when Steve Asmussen was running this horse, in allowances and offshore claimers at the end of last year. And then John Sadler took over the training. And since then, they've run him back in graded stakes this year. So, but even Rosario wasn't able to repeat his Santa Anita handicap effort in the Oaklawn handicap, where he finished 11 lengths behind the winner. He's a toss for me, Marco.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. Maximum Security, we've already talked about in detail.
Can I jump in there real quick?
Go ahead.
I wasn't completely done with Maximum Security when we moved on. Guys, go back and watch Maximum Security in the Saudi Cup back in February. He raced for us $20 million, the biggest purse ever for a horse race. Watch his ride in the stretch. Mucho Gusto took the lead from in this race early and basically was still there in the stretch, but towering out. Mucho Gusto's swerving up and down the lane, and Maximum Security is just trying to get by him. He never had to fully check up, but he had to basically wait to make his move. And then when he made his move, he just exploded past him and stayed ahead of a hard-charging Midnight Bisou. But just to watch that race and to see what he's able to do when he has to deal with some traffic, I don't think he's going to see that same traffic tomorrow, as I think he's going to take control of this race early on. But I think I think that race shows you the abilities that this horse has.
Absolutely. And just go back and watch Kentucky Derby. If the room's not there, just make it. And the horse is very athletic. Okay. The last horse, and this is the most intriguing horse in the race to me, is number 6, Midcourt. Now, Midcourt just absolutely threw a clunker in. And everybody's pointing to a couple things that, happened in this race. First thing is we're going to talk about the horse. And if you look at this, Midcourt, they took the blinkers off last time. And if you look at the horse's previous races prior to the last one, Horse sitting second, 2 back, and go back 3 back. He's cutting setting the pace. Then you go back 4 back. Yeah, I got away back, but then, he closed to finish third, but never really was a factor, beating 7+ lengths. Go before that, horse is on the lead. So the horse likes to be forwardly placed, likes to engage early and be in there, and that looks to be the style. For whatever reason, because Improbable was in there and so forth, they probably didn't want to get involved in an early speed duel. They took the blinkers off, which generally is going to relax a horse. I've always said it, when I see blinkers on, whether it be harness racing, thoroughbred racing, you're doing that to get the attention of the horse. You want the horse focused, and generally it's for the start of the race. You want the horse to get out of the gate well. And it just totally backfired. The horse was not involved. He hopped at the start, maybe because it was a different look with, being opened up, not having the blinkers on. The blinkers are back. That was a 1-race trial, and they failed miserably. And that's the thing about horse racing. You make equipment changes trying to hang these horses up and get them set just right. Unfortunately, there hasn't been a horse since Mr. Ed that could talk and tell the trainer what they needed, and it's all trial and error. And sometimes you make the right move, sometimes you don't. This was clearly the wrong move on midcourt, and they're going back and hanging the horse up the way they did. So I expect midcourt to break from post 6, and I expect midcourt to be on the flank of maximum security, but taking the same trip that New York Traffic took last week against Authentic.
Not going to disagree with you at all, Marco. I said this about higher power when we talked about the 1 horse in here. Midcourt loves Del Mar. 2 career races, 2 career wins at Del Mar. The last outing, like we just talked about, the Santa Anita Gold Cup, he was coming in first off a 3-month layoff. He hopped at the start, had issues, and then when Espinoza saw he didn't stand a chance, he eased him up. So yeah, he finished 5th out of that 6-horse field. But the blinkers did come off of that effort. They're going back on Saturday. I expect him to be much more forwardly placed in here, and I'll be using him underneath him my exactas. Way I'm looking to play this guy is there's not going to be any value in maximum security come post time. Is he going
to be 1 to 9?
I was going to say, if you get 1 to 5, you're lucky. So yeah, 1 to 9 sounds more like it. But I am going to play some exactas. I'm going to take maximum security, and I'm going to key him over top of both higher power and midcourt. I think either one of those horses has the ability to hold on for second, and I think you can make a little bit of money off this race playing it that way.
To me, it's a carbon copy of last week. You take 2 cold punch exactas, make your top one for more, your second one for a little less, and that's how you play it, and then punch out some tries. And we were able to, with odds on horse winning, you can still find ways to make money out of a race. And we did that last week with the Haskell, and hopefully we'll do that again on Saturday. So we're in agreement, and I have an idea when we get to our pick 4s, which this is one of the pick 4 races. We're doing the late pick 4 at Del Mar, which consists of races 8 through 11. I have an idea we're both going to have singles there in the 10th race. So let's talk about the pick 4, and we'll start it off. Sig, we'll give our selections of how deep we're going in each race, and then talk about your top horse and why you have your top horse. And go ahead and give me your first leg, race 8 at Del Mar.
Okay, guys, this kicks off with a $50,000 claimer for Calbred 3-year-olds, and we're going 7 furlongs on the dirt. The first 2 pick 4, I had a hard time narrowing down, and I do like some prices in here, guys. If we catch one of these, it's going to pay. If we catch 2 of these, it's really going to pay. On top, I have the number 2 horse. It's That Time, 5 to 1, your morning line. Mike Smith's riding for trainer Jeff Bonde. This horse is going to be overlooked after his last trip. He was overshadowed by the Baffert Beast and Saison. The jock lost his whip in that race, and he was jostled around early. He's working really well, and I think we can kick this pick 4 off of a price of 5-1. I did go 5 deep in this leg, though. I used the 3 horse, the 10 horse, the 9 horse, and the 1 horse.
I'm looking at, we're pretty much talking the same horses here. You added a couple, but our main horses were the same. I'm 2, 3, 4, 1, and yes, I'm singling in, looking here at the 2 horse. It's that time, and as you said, you pointed out, bumped early, can't get any, this horse just had a horrible trip last time. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Bumped early in the race, jockey loses his whip, other than falling off the horse, just all the trouble that you could possibly have. So just put a line completely through that last race, and if you go back the previous 6 races from there, you're looking at 5 of the 6 races he was first or second, and the other one he was third. Ultra consistent. And you look, we pick up Mike Smith, and Mike Smith over people that have been driving Fuentes and Figueroa. This is definitely a big jump in ability as far as jockeys go. And if you look back, Mike Smith rode this horse to its highest speed figure, and I am going to look at him, and that is the horse I have on top. But I do think this is a competitive race, Sig, and that's why I went 4 deep. You went 5 deep. So when you do have a single, as we do later in the pick 4, it's easy to go a little deeper in some of these competitive races. Speaking of another competitive race, let's go to race 9, and my numbers here are 3, 1, 9, 5. And I'm looking at the 3, Laura's Light. This is the horse to beat. This was a race where I could have almost singled again, or if she doesn't get there, then anybody can get there. So that's why I added some other horses in here, trying to get that value. But Laura's Light is the horse to beat. You look at this horse, 6 lifetime starts, 4 wins in a second. You can't ask for any more from the horse. Ultra consistent, and except for 2 back, where if you look, that race was not on the turf. So I'm going to throw that out. Traveled from the West Coast, left Santa Anita, cut them out, and then came up short, finishing 4th in that one. Let's go back here. I think back on the turf, the following race, easy grade 3 win. Well, not easy, wins by a neck. But the horse was, if you look at the race line, at the midpoint of that race, the horse was second by 10 lengths. The horse was alone on the front end, cutting fractions in, so basically Laura's Light was cutting her own mile in the 2-0 because of such a big gap, and then still was able to come on and collar that horse in the stretch, which I like to see that from a horse. Give a horse a target and never gives up, keeps grinding to the end, and ended up pulling out the neck victory. So to me, the 3 is the horse to beat. But definitely if we could get a price here, and you never generally get a price with a Flavian Pratt horse, but the 1 is intriguing on the rail. That's my second choice in this race.
I did use the 1. I did use your 3, but I landed on top with the 9, Warren Showtime, 7-2 on your morning line. Jorge Velez is riding for Craig Lewis. When I first perused the form real quick, I always go through guys real quick and come up with a couple quick opinions. I thought about singling this horse here, but the more I looked at this race, anything could happen in this leg of the race. Warren Showtime has 3 wins in her last 5 starts, including 2 over the turf and 1 over the dirt at Santa Anita here back in June. She has the best speed figures in this race, but the one drawback I do see is most of her success has come in the Calbred races. She's going to find it a little bit more tougher here in open company. So second up, I used Marco's 3, Laura's Light, who looked good win the grade 3 Honeymoon last month. But the thing about the Honeymoon, too, is 3 horses finish in basically a half length of each other. So she just got to the line before some other hard-charging horses. One of them I'm going to talk about in a second. I used the 4 Over Attracted, who I don't think Marco used. 15-1 your morning line, but Mike Smith's hopping aboard for Carla Gaines. I could be reaching here, But the filly didn't look bad in her U.S. debut last month at Santa Anita. It's going to be her second start on Lasix, and her second trip with Smith, who you can't discount that. He has a good feel for the horse now. At 15-1, I would love to see this horse hit the board and blow up our tickets. I used a 5-horse, Crocovoke, who ran third in that race in the honeymoon that Laura's Light won. But watch this horse charge down the lane in that race. This was a little bit longer. That horse wins. He might need longer than a mile that this race is, but Crocovoke is definitely another horse that could blow up the ticket. And I used the one that Marco also used, She's So Special. So I'll be on 5 deep there, too. We're already 5 by 5 into this thing, so got to narrow it down somewhere. I bet you this is the leg.
Yeah, and to go back to your 4-horse, I will have the 4 on my trifectas in this race. That is my 5th horse in this race. But I had to, tighten this up a little bit, and I couldn't go 5 here because I have another leg where I went a little deeper, and it's not the next one. I will throw one thing out. The reason I have Warren Showtime as my 3rd choice and not in my top 2, for pure ability, Warren Showtime might be the best horse in this field. I'm worried about the trip that Warren Showtime's going to get. Warren Showtime is a horse that races one way. He's going to be coming at the end of the race. That's just the way the horse races. And with the 9 post, you're going to have 2 choices of what you're going to need to do here. You're either going to be wide the entire race, or you're going to cross over and try to get to the rail and get a ground-saving trip. And if you get the ground-saving trip, then you got to worry about, do you get out, at the right time, clean, and be able to launch that big closing kick. If we get fast fractions in this race, and my horse, Laura's Light's going to be on the front, then Warren Showtime can run this horse down. No question about it. But if she gets modest fractions, I don't know that Warren Showtime's going to have enough racetrack to catch up with, having to come, because we know, we've talked about it a gazillion times, if you go the first half of the race slower, it's tougher for those closers to make up that ground, and especially with the outside post position and not a lot of tactical speed, just might have a compromised trip. And that was my concern with Warren Showtime, but yet I could not leave the horse off my pick 4.
Marco, I got some breaking news in here. I'm sorry to interrupt your broadcast, but we just nailed the early pick 5 at Saratoga for $319. Our second pick, the 3-horse Irish Constitution. You guys bet down from 12-1 to 4-1, but she did take it here, and we got off to a great start today at Saratoga. Let's keep rolling, guys.
Yeah, you've been hot at Saratoga. You like the spa. You got a spa day planned with all these winnings?
What's that?
Do you got a spa day planned with all these winnings?
I don't know. I could use a massage. I can tell you that.
I'm just going to leave that go. Race 10. No secret. We can roll through here because we're both single in the 5, maximum security. My text to you was the only way maximum security loses is if he falls down, in my opinion. And
we have seen that happen to horses.
We have. But moving then to the final leg, I'm going 5 deep in this one. This is the one where I stretched it out a bit. Yes, there's some horses that make sense in here, but this is also, an allowance claiming race. Those tend to be very competitive. Doesn't matter how good a horse looks on paper. A lot of times with these claiming races like this, Sig, these horses are very closely grouped in talent, and a lot of times it comes down to trip in the race. And I went 6-5, 2-1-8. I went 5 deep. 6 horse is the horse I put on top. This is a horse, Smiling Rose. I put a 10-1 shot on top. What am I doing here? We're swinging for the fences. But this is one of my favorite angles, and it's in a claiming race. I like to look at horses first off the claim. And here we go. Smiling Rose was claimed for $25,000. And, now it's in this optional race. I'm going to go in here and, if the trainer saw something they liked, and in this case, it's trainer Ron Ellis, I am going to back them. they put their money down, they saw something they like, and they feel they can make the horse better, and they find a spot where the horse fits. I don't think this horse goes off at 10-1. This is one of those ones where I say to you, morning line's 10-1, over or under on final odds. I'm going to go under on the final odds.
I'm not going to disagree with you all, Marco. We actually landed on the same horse on top here. I actually ended this ticket with a 10-1, an 8-1, and a 6-1. I don't think any of them are going to go off at those odds because, like he said, this is an allowance optional claimer. This is also Cowbreds. A lot of these horses see these same horses over and over in these state bred races here. So I got Smiling Rose on top at 10-1. Same thing, the claim for Ellis. And Ellis, though it's a small sample size, does well first off the claim. I have another one that was first off the claim here. My second choice, 8, Sassy Herb, I believe it is. Flavian Pratt's hopping on for Richard Baltus, first off the claim. Had a bull at work back on the 19th over this Del Mar turf and hasn't missed a board in her last 6 starts dating back to last summer at Del Mar. My last one in here is the 5, Good Things coming in pink. 6-1 for Kent DeSormo's hopping on for Vladimir Sarin. Took her this filly 7 attempts to break her maiden, but she was always competitive. If you look back at all those races, only missing the board 1 time in those 8 career starts, and that was a 4th place finish. If she runs back to her last outing, she's definitely in the mix. So I went 3 deep here in that last leg, guys. 5 by 5 by 1 by 3. It's a $37.50 ticket. My numbers are 2, 3, 10, 9, 1 with 9, 3, 4, 5, 1 with the 5 single maximum security with the 6, 8, 5. That's a $37.50 ticket.
You just had to come in under mine. You had to make it $2.50 cheaper.
Hey, if you hit the last leg and I don't, then.
Okay. Well, you're top heavy. I finished it off heavy. My ticket is a $40 ticket. We went in race 8, 2, 3, 4, 1. Race 9, 3, 1, 9, 5. Race 10, our single is the 5, maximum security. And then in race 11, we finished it up with 6, 5, 2, 1, 8. My ticket's $40. Sig's is $37.50. Modest pick 4 tickets. And, you know, with a single in there, we get maximum security. Obviously, it's almost like a free square in bingo as far as the pick 4s go here. It's basically a pick 3. But there are some competitive races there. Del Mar, it'll be, you know, the races will be finishing up later. Saratoga will be done. So you'll have the attention there at Del Mar. So we should get some nice, you know, action at Del Mar, get some payoffs there. And I'm looking forward to it. Once again, as we wrap up the show, Sig, excited to see maximum security. Continued success with the Saratoga meet. You're killing it this week. Just keep, you know, crashing those big, you know, pick 4s and pick 5s. No monsters. You know, we're not talking, you know, balloons, but, you know, you're still making profits with, you know, $300, $400, $500 payouts. Those build the bankrolls, and very good. In the Saratoga meet, it's not an easy meet. Full fields most of the time. So hats off to you. Continued success. Baseball's underway. Check out everybody at Wager Talk. Got a lot of action up. You got UFC action. You've got soccer. We've got the baseball, KBO, Korean baseball. People were betting that left and right, but now we got real baseball. So exciting times back here for Wager Talk. Basketball, a little over a week away, and then hockey, and our beloved.
It's all about hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the Toronto Blue Jays? They couldn't even find a home.
They have a home.
How sad was that?
They have a home. It's in Toronto.
Yeah, well, they're not allowed to go back and forth.
Well,
so,
I wouldn't.
But
I understand that, dude. Your country is like exploding with the COVID.
I know Pittsburgh wouldn't even take Toronto, and Pittsburgh should have kept Toronto and tried to merge Toronto and Pittsburgh together,
Yes.
and we might have come out. We might have come out with one, just maybe above mediocre team if we would have done that, because Pittsburgh might be the worst team in baseball this year. I hate to say that. And I usually save that for Baltimore or Detroit, and bust Johnny Detroit's balls. But Pittsburgh might end up with the worst record in baseball this year. Hey, that's
Marco.
Pardon me?
We're used to it.
Yeah, I know. And people said, with no crowds, what's going to be the difference?
We've been doing that for years, yeah.
Yeah, what get 5,000 on a weeknight if you're lucky. Hey, guys, thanks for tuning into the show. We appreciate you guys every week. Check us out. If you missed the live version, you can always get us on YouTube. And when you head over to YouTube, do us a favor. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, hit the bell for the notification, then you never miss anything from Wager Talk TV. Till next week, he is Sig. Follow him on Twitter, Sig Las Vegas, a.k.a. The Shirt, Mr. Pick 4 and Pick 5. I'm Marco D'Angelo. Follow me on Twitter at Marco in Vegas. And, of course, check out everybody at both Wager Talk and Sports Memo. Till next week, guys. Hope to see you in the winner's circle. Speaking of winner's circle, Tuesday, hopefully, Sin City Lorry races at the Meadows. Check it out, race 6. We drew the rail. Got a good post position. See what we can do with it. Till next week, guys. Good.